What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and it is officially the start of the new league year, and that means the start of free agency is official, which means all of the signings the Dolphins have done the past couple of days should all be going into effect as of today, I believe, in about 45 minutes from now as I make this video, and all of the signings will be official. They added one to the list, though. They signed another player today, so they were not done in free agency, and they could still be, looking to sign some other players, but they did add another one today, and that is the Dolphins have signed ex-Patriots center Ted Karras to a 1-year, $4 million contract. Now, it's a center. This is a guy that a lot of people, like Dolphins fans really wanted. I don't care that he comes from the Patriots. Everybody's like, oh, get Patriots players, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, I don't care. I just care that they're a good player and that, it's a good price, etc., etc., etc. Now, according... I saw a tweet, I don't remember who it was from, but according to Pro Football Focus, him and Daniel Kilgore rated roughly about the same. He's just a younger version, essentially, of Kilgore, but could certainly be at least a bit of an upgrade. It's only a 1-year deal, so that means next year he'll be testing free agency if he doesn't get another contract with the Dolphins. But it looks like right now he has a 1-year deal worth $4 million, and this is actually probably the best out of all of them. And this is more of what I want, what personally I wanted them to do in free agency. Not go out and just fucking break the bank and just blow through the fucking cap space like it's fucking nothing, but to find guys that are cheap. $4 million is cheap, right? It is only a 1-year deal, and we certainly could use, obviously a center going forward, but I do think overall they need to, build through the draft, of course. So I don't mind having a guy that is somewhat of a bridge guy, especially if he is cheap, and if he can be at least, a moderate upgrade to what we had, but, he may not be around. So, it could be a totally temporary thing. We'll have to wait and see after this season. And look, but that's the thing though too, is I find it inconceivable at this point that the Dolphins are not going to put together some sort of package to move up to ensure they get their quarterback. I mean, everything that they've done in free agency, pretty much, they're not even close yet to filling all the holes, but with the way that they got a pass rusher, a linebacker, a cornerback, right? So, and a safety. So they got a bunch of guys on defense and plugged the holes. They got 2 offensive linemen in free agency, which, I figured they would do, right? I was right about that. I knew they were going to, I had said and predicted before that they were going to pick up at least one, if not 2 offensive linemen in free agency. One of them they did sign to a pretty hefty contract. That is Eric Flowers. And, I was also right that they were going to be big spenders in free agency. And to be fair, of course, so was anybody else who thought that. And, of course, so were the Dolphins. They were right because they told us they were going to do this. So, now... we have to wait and see exactly how they handle the draft, but my expectation is that they will at least trade up to the number 3 spot, if not the number 2 or the number 1 spot, depending on how desperate they are to get the guy that Stephen Ross is in love with. So, yeah. Anyway, let's continue on this real quick though with Karras. Let's see. Karras spent the last 4 years with the New England Patriots and made 15 starts. For the team in 2019. The Dolphins approached the offseason with the most salary cap space in the NFL, and they have quickly put it to use. Now, look, real quick, so he started 15 games for the Patriots last season, but he's been with them for 4 years. So it took him 4 years to get into the lineup. So that's, something. That's part of the context to keep in in mind for, you know, whether or not we should sign him again. Also, when we're going to start trying to evaluate, you know, what this offensive line is going to look like and whether or not it's going to, you know, actually be an improvement. I mean, Eric Flowers got a pretty sizable contract. We expect him to plug in at the left guard spot. I would hope Jesse Davis pushes back into right guard because he's not very good at the right tackle spot, putting it lightly. Kilgore's gone, but Ted Karras is in. We expect him to be the center. We still need bookends. We still need tackles for sure. So hopefully they'll address that some point in the draft. Although my guess is if they do package, you know, something to trade up and give away a bunch of picks, it probably won't be until, you know, like maybe the mid rounds that they do that. You know, and I think that's not the best way to go, but you know, we'll see what they do. So, you know, we still need to fix significant holes on that offensive line, and furthermore, we need, you know, quality depth just in case. And we don't know, you know, like Eric Flowers. I mean, he, you know, this is his third team now. The first like 4 years of his career, he wasn't very good. He had a bit of a bounce back season last year when he moved positions. However, it was on a pretty terrible team. So, you know, that doesn't exactly say the best about him. You know, so we'll see if these guys can actually come in and put something together and produce. You know, I mean, we were like the worst running team in the league last year. It was terrible. So let's see if it actually is an improvement and if it actually does anything. Let's see. The Dolphins approached the offseason with the most salary cap space in the NFL, and they have quickly put it to use. Byron Jones headlines Miami's free agent business, having agreed to a 5-year, $82.5 million deal per ESPN's Adam Schefter. Eric Flowers' agent, Drew Rosenhaus, confirmed that Schefter the Miami will also sign his client to a 3-year, $30 million contract. It's easy to identify what went wrong for the Dolphins in 2019 as they finished 5-11. Yeah, like, let's say the entire philosophy that they implemented? Okay. The offensive line contributed to the disappointing season, finishing 32nd in adjusted line yards and 29th in adjusted sack rate per Football Outsiders. Miami Herald's Armando Salguero questioned how much of an impact Karras will have in turning the unit around. The Dolphins declined Daniel Kilgore's 2020 option, leaving a void at center. Karras fills the immediate need, and the team can look toward the draft for a long-term solution. Miami has 14 draft picks in 2020, including 6 picks through the first 3 rounds as of now until they decide to trade up. General Manager Chris Greer and head coach Brian Flores will have a number of opportunities to add another center in April. So, look, I mean, like I said, they are putting immense pressure on themselves to be, like, great in 2020, right? I mean, there were already tons of people, including the media and everything, and all the fan base, or majority of the fan base, that was like, you know, crowning them Super Bowl champions in 2020 just simply because they had a ton of cap space and draft picks before they even did anything with it. But now that they've added, like, you know, now that they've broke the bank and just blown through their fucking cap space, signing ridiculous contracts, which most of them are. The only, like, the best one is the Ted Karras one, although that one might not even last long. But let's also notice, a quick side note, I've been saying that, you know, when it comes to the quote-unquote premier positions on the offensive line, I believe that the NFL, or at least a lot of the NFL, has it wrong, and that you should focus on center and tackles as opposed to, you know, paying premier prices for guards, because the skeleton and the most important positions are the tackles and the center. Whereas, but if you notice, they gave the big contract to the guard, Eric Flowers, and they gave just a 1-year deal, a small 1-year deal to the center, who arguably could be, you know, or who definitely is at the more important position, you know. But so I just think that everything that they're doing, personally, from my perspective, is totally backwards, and I wouldn't do any of it the way that they've done. But again, I mean, they can prove me wrong, you know. But going back to what I was saying a second ago, they have all this pressure now, not just because of the crazy amount of hype and pressure that people were putting on before, but now after all these signings, they're literally breaking the bank. And then even more so if they do what they are, like, primed to do. I find it inconceivable that they don't move up to get a quarterback at all. The only questions that remain would be, how far do they go? Do they go up to the third spot, the second spot, the first spot? And then how much are they willing to give to get to that spot? And then who is it that they take? So, but if they do that, right, let's say in the most extreme situation is they trade away like let's say, just this is a hypothetical, if they traded away all 3 of our first round picks from this year to move up to the number 1 spot to get Joe Burrow, well, I mean, you know, I think that would be a terrible idea, but then again, it would put so much more pressure on them to win immediately. But then that's all the more reason why then they would also most likely throw the young quarterback, whoever he is, into the fire immediately, because he's the shiny new toy and he's the franchise quarterback. He's your first round pick, high status. You traded up to go get him, etc., etc., etc. So in all likelihood, whoever it is that the Dolphins do pick will end up being the starter and will end up being thrown into the fire right away. And if the offensive line does not perform well, if they're unable to open up holes for the running game, which we still, you know, are wondering who we even really have, you know, as running back. They just signed Jordan Howard, but, you know, who knows how well that's going to work out. But if it doesn't, and then, you know, if the dude ends up running for his life the whole time and gets bruised and battered, well, it could be, you know, very bad things, especially if the quarterback that they do get ends up being Tua, who is very, very injury prone. So there's a lot that still needs to play out with this, but from my perspective, they have set themselves up for lots of disaster and disappointment, and I don't see this playing out well, but they, again, as I've said a million times, can prove me wrong. I hope they do. I just don't think that everything that they've done is going to add up to that, so let's see what happens. Anyway, I'm going to get up out of here. I hope you guys enjoy my videos and perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. And of course, leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comments section. And follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Phins up.